But let's go across to Vishwanath for AU Small Finance Bank. That's the big news this morning. Why is it such a big deal for, I think, this entity which has started as a small vehicles loan lender, isn't it?
1996, that's when it became a vehicle loans lender, AU Financiers, it was called then. 2017, it got the Small Finance Bank license, and that's when it started its banking operations. However, now what has changed is that a universal bank license has been given, and this is the first time that the RBI has granted a universal bank license, or at least the in-principle approval for one, since April 2014. That's 11 years. Bandhan Bank was the last one which got this universal bank license. And now, of course, AU Small Finance Bank. It's not going to be small for very long. So let's try and understand what exactly this entire thing means for a bank like AU Small Finance Bank. Essentially, a commercial bank can offer a wide array of services, which includes commercial banking, investment banking, insurance, wealth management, international banking. All of these services open up as far as a small finance bank is concerned, which is graduating to the universal category. Now, if you were to look at the RBI norms for banks that want to convert to a universal bank, essentially there are certain specific rules. The net worth of this company should be 1,000 crore or above. It has to have a satisfactory performance. Now, what is satisfactory? That only the RBI knows. None of us know what exactly that means. But the RBI looks at the last 5 years' track record and sees if the track record has been satisfactory. Net profit needs to be there for 2 consecutive financial years right before your application. As far as your gross NPA and net NPA are concerned, gross NPA should be 3% or less. Similarly, net NPA should be 1% or less for 2 consecutive financial years. As far as the RBI is concerned, these banks must be listed to graduate to universal bank status, and the RBI's due diligence must be thorough in this process and prove that they deserve the universal bank license. If you were to look at where the numbers stack up, if you were to just see between, the numbers are here from FY21, but the bank, of course, started in FY18. If you were to just look at the advances, that's close to 30% CAGR over the 8-year period. Similarly, if you were to look at deposits, again, 41% CAGR growth on the deposit. Gross NPA has been a little bit volatile, but still well within the RBI's limit. And again, net NPA ratio has been similarly volatile. There's only one period in FY21 where gross NPA jumped to 4.3%. Since then, of course, it's come down. The net interest margin picture, it's shrunk from 7% when it started as a lender. It has come down to about 5.94, but 5.94 is a very, very strong number for any bank, specifically somebody like AU Small Finance Bank. Now, let's look at some of the freedom that comes in with becoming a universal bank. Essentially, there is a freedom to lend. 50% of a small finance bank's book has to be towards loan below 25 lakh. That restriction doesn't apply to universal banks, so you can lend out more money to people. Similarly, on the priority sector lending front, there's a 60% limit or a ceiling on priority sector lending for small finance bank. That's a much lower ceiling at 40% for universal banks. If you were to look at the product suite, of course, there are certain restrictions as to what a small finance bank can sell. Versus a universal bank, it can essentially sell any financial product under the sun. That opens up a lot of opportunities. Similarly, on the branch front, 25% in unbanked and rural areas for small finance banks. Universal banks have no such requirement. Similarly, on subsidiaries, small finance banks are not allowed to do any non-banking activities. As far as universal banks are concerned, we know that they can do insurance, AMCs, different kinds of financial products which are non-banking in nature. Similarly, on the capital adequacy ratio, there's a 15% requirement for small finance banks. That is much lower at 11.5% when it comes to universal banks. And that's a big move as far as banks transitioning to the universal category are concerned. 2 other banks, Ujjivan and Jana, these 2 have also applied for a universal bank license. That's what we know so far. Has the RBI approved it or not? We do not know so far. Of course, Ujjivan and Jana both have had other financial troubles. We'll see what happens to their applications.